Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and a very good morning. As for today, our group will be presenting on the topic Islamic versus Western approaches to thinking. Alright, next this will be the contents that we will discuss in this presentation, which is introduction, Islamic approaches, Western approaches, differences, similarities and also conclusion. Before that, I would like to introduce my group members, which is Fadin Adila, me myself, Tuan Rulifah, Shahdina, Munawar and also Aini Nabila. There is one quote that relates with this topic, which is don't raise your voice but improve your argument. Okay, it brings the meaning that critical thinkers need to prepare to open discussion with a solid bedrock of knowledge and experience to rest on the discussion topic. Okay, now let's move on to the introduction and know the meaning of this topic. Alright, the Islamic approach is based on the sources of belief and knowledge in Islam and the scholarly attitude of Muslims throughout history in major subjects of inquiry in Islamic studies and the subject which come under the humanities, social sciences and pure sciences. And meanwhile, Western perspective is the ability to check for clarity, accuracy, precision, relevance, depth, breadth, significance, logic, fairness, and to build knowledge from a range of sources including your own experiences. And to be a critical thinker, especially when informal logical fallacies are addressed, a person should be aware of what could be classified as knowledge and the reliable means of knowledge.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Fadlin Adila and will be presenting on Islamic approaches. Basically, there are many ways of Islamic approaches to thinking, but here we just focus on three things only, which is ijtihad, qiyas and tafakkur. I will explain each of them briefly. Firstly, ijtihad. Ijtihad is derived from the words al-juhdu in Arabic, which is hardship and ability. It is one of the physical or mental effort expended in a particular activity, which is an Islamic legal term referring to independent reasoning or finding a solution to a legal question related to Islamic issues itself. It denotes the process of profound thinking, making the mujtahid of the creative person conscious of the ruling of the events. Mujtahid is an Islamic scholar who is qualified to perform ijtihad. They must require expertise in the Arabic language, theology, revealed text and principle of jurisprudence, which is usul fiqh. For example, nowadays there are many spouses who do not have a child yet, so they are recommended to do IVF. The scholars agreed that the sperm must from a legal couple only who is married in Islam. Secondly, we go through to qiyas. Qiyas is one of the processes of deductive analogy in which the teachings of the hadith are compared and contrasted with those of the Quran in order to apply a non-injunction to a new circumstance and create a new injunction. For instance, the use of qiyas in the case of the ban on selling or buying of goods after the last call for Friday prayers until the end of the prayer stated in the Quran Surah Al-Jumu'ah verse 9. By analogy, this prohibition is extended to any other transactions and activities such as agricultural work and administration. Lastly, tafakkur. Tafakkur is an act of thinking, contemplating, reflecting, training and tadabbur that encompass the human's mind, heart and spirit. Tafakkur is to meditate over our sins, creation, ourselves and to take lessons from the things Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala has created. For example, when we look at our hands and think, if we did not have fingers, it will be very difficult for us to grasp and take an object. So from that, we think that there is no God worthy of worship except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because He created us with the best of creatures. In addition, there are three elements of Muslim thinker, which is using logical thinking, thinking about the future, and critical thinking. First thing first, using logical thinking helps us improve ourselves in many ways. For example, when we being creative, we tend to make as many logical connections across subjects as possible. All these improvements on an individual level tend to translate to organizational success eventually. Secondly, thinking of the future and preparing for it, which is very much encouraged in Islam. It is because once you know that Allah always with us, He guarantees us won't be sad if we obey Him. Have complete trust that Allah will take care of everything and have a written record of positive outcomes. You are ready to fight shaitan's whispers. For instance, as a student, we always have negative thoughts by saying, I will make a fool of myself during the presentation. But when we have a positive thoughts by saying, I have an awesome presentation, inshallah, the things will indirectly affect us to having a positive outcomes. Lastly, why we must have critical thinking is because critical thinking skills give learners the ability to understand what they have read or been shown, and also to build upon the knowledge without incremental guidance. Indeed, critical thinking teaches students that knowledge is fluid and builds upon itself. To be a critical thinker, especially when informal logical fallacies are addressed, a person should be aware about what could be classified as a knowledge and the reliable means of knowledge. That's all from me, and I will pass to the next presenter.
Next, I will continue to explain about the Western approaches, in which I also will explain about the styles and also the elements of Western thinking. So, what are the Western thinking styles? There are three styles that I will focus on, which are the first one is external thinking, which can be explained as the Westerner share the thoughts with others, and also they love to brainstorming their ideas with other people too. In which for me, I believe that it is hard to get an agreement together, because the Westerner do not have any guidance to be referred on, unlike from the Islamic thinking style or from Islamic perspective. We have musyawarah concept, we have our own guidance, which are Quran and Sunnah. So move on to the second one, perception focus, in which the Westerner are more highly focused and concentrate towards the goals and also the objective of the issue that have been discussed. So the third one is individualistic, which the Westerner believe or emphasize on their independence concept, freedom of choice, and they also believe that their personal achievement are more greater than the group success. The first elements of Western thinkers are using scientific method, in which they really rely on using scientific method such as hypothesis, research, observation, experiment, and etc. as their evidence of their discovery of their statement. So the second one is skepticism, in which they also been doubt or deny the true knowledge, and at the same time they also be judgmental and sometimes they critique about the knowledge. The last one is beside they also creative in their thinking, in which they love to generate their new ideas from the issue that has been discussed.
The difference between Islamic thinkings and Western thinking is Islamic thinking is based on Al-Quran and As-Sunnah. When coming up with the decision must align with what has been written in Al-Quran and Sunnah. For example, when we are using Islamic thinking, we are not supporting LGBTQ+, because it is totally prohibited in Islam and can get a lot of harm from it. Meanwhile, Western approaches to thinking are more logical, emotional, and intellectual. They are practicing secularism, which separates religion from world matters. They follow what they think is right for them, what is been proven true. Such when we are using Western thinking, we are supporting LGBTQ+, because it is human rights. It's a freedom for people who they want to fall in love with. Moreover, Islamic thinking is holistic. They think about others' perspectives, also not only on their own perspective. They cannot slowly use their desire to come up with decision. It has to come out with decision that benefit others. For example, IVF is allowable since it helps married people who have difficulty to have a baby. However, the sperm or embryos must come from a legal spouse because they want to take care of the family genealogy and others' perspective. However, Western thinking is more individualistic. They are using feelings, intuition, and emotion when making a decision. For example, IVF is allowable even involving eggs, sperms, or embryos from anonymous donors. It is okay to get it from an illegal part because they follow their laws to have a baby. No matter what the way, they must have a baby. In addition, Islamic thoughts emphasize the balance between the world and the hereafter. So they always think that their decision must seek the pleasure of Allah. It must follow the guideline of Sharia. Because those who live according to the Islamic rules, they will get reward in the world and hereafter. For example, Muslim fashion designer, of course, they design clothes that bring profit to them, but they make sure the fashion must cover the aura because they emphasize between the world and the hereafter. However, it contradicts with Western thinkers that their thinking always benefits worldly life. They are not thinking about the benefit they will get in hereafter. For example, Western designers design clothes according to their creativity and intellect. They are also target for a big profit, but they do not think if the clothes are too exposing or not, or if the clothes are decent for the society. They are not questioning if the religions has put restriction or not.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So my name is Islam Lamran and my number matrix is 1911941. So I will present about the Islamic and the similarities of Islamic and Western approach to thinking. So the first one is the critical thinker. So the thinkers from the Islam and West says a lot that thinking is a process of problem solving. This is because we know that every human in this dunya cannot avoid or cannot run away from facing any problem in their life or any conflict in their life. So if someone that have a critical thinking, they know and they know how to adapt with this kind of difficult situation. They know how to handle any conflict that happen in their life. So next is a critical thinker also able to make a good decision. This is important because when we grow up, it is important for us to make a decision for ourselves. For example, which course we want to enter in university, or what career we want to pursue in the future, or if we want to become a leader, we also need to able to make a good decision. For example, when we want to run a nation, so we have to have this kind of critical thinking. So we will make a good decision for our society. Then, in addition, we also will become a leader to our family. So it's important for us to make a good decision for our family in the future. So the second similarities of Islam and Western uh, first thinking is enhance the civilization. Islamic and Western thought is aimed at advancing and enhancing the progress of self. As we know, to advance civilization, it is necessary to start or to begin with advancing the personality of an individual first. It's because someone that have a good manner or have a good thinking or have a good respect to the elders are also the important thing to make civilization this the one civilization to become more successful. Next is Islamic and Western thought is also aimed at advancing and enhancing the progress of society. This is important because the developed society is the main reason or the root for the successful country. For example, the society that have a good education or a good economy will lead to a developed country. As we can see now, the in Japan that have a good society, we can see that they have a good manner, they have a good economy and good education, and we can see that Japan is become one of a successful country in the world right now. So for example, also we can see that society that have uh, good manner will lead to the harmony country, or at the same time also can develop the civilization of a nation and a race. So the third similarity of Islamic and Western approach to thinking is creating a spirit of inquiry. So this kind of spirit has made an individual have a high spirit of curiosity. As you know, curiosity is important for someone to explore a new thing. We as a student also encouraged to have this kind of spirit so we can explore or gain more and more knowledge about our subject or about our course that will also lead us to become a successful student in our school or our university. So next is this kind of spirit also has made an individual with a high class of thinking. So someone who have this kind of high class thinking able to solve the problem effectively. Or in addition, they are also able to perform a given task to them. They will do to the best of their ability. So that's all from me. Thank you.
In the end, as the conclusion, we can see the difference that the aims of thinking in Islam are about maneuvering our task as Khalifah, balancing the world and hereafter, and glorifying Allah's greatness. Then it comes to the conclusion, while in Western thinking, it is mostly about achieving worldly rewards or gains. So throughout this presentation, we already presented about the idea of Islamic and Western critical thinking and approaches to thinking, so that We hope that everyone can understand our presentation, and if you have any inquiries or questions, you can reach us. And I think that is all from us today. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you.